next to a room full of subject matter experts. So it was a great thing.
And I have to say, this is a really rewarding experience. Guests from the outside looking in, giving students an opportunity to get engaged with the real estate development process.
It's really showcasing the future of our industry. And I'm sure that all of you will agree that our industry is in excellent hands.
So that's our video from 2019. You can tell that that Edmonton's organizing this competition again because we included the shot of David holding the golden shovel at the end there. My name's Anand Pai. I'm the executive director at NAIOP Edmonton, and I just want to welcome you and thank you for joining our NAIOP Battle of the Prairies case study competition for 2021. I'll tell you a little bit about NAIOP and then introduce the other folks who are organizing the challenge this year. Actually, maybe I'll just start off by introducing some of the folks that you heard from at the beginning of the call here. So wanted to really thank our co-chairs this year on organizing the competition, Sarah Henderson and Paige Rutherford. And you'll hear from them later on in the agenda, as well as our site sponsor, Matt Woolsey, who's on the call today as well. So we'll hear from everyone in just a minute, but I'll tell you quickly about NAIOP and why we organize this competition every year. NAIOP's the industry association for commercial real estate development, and we've been organizing this competition since 2015, when it was started by David Dale Johnson, who is the professor for commercial real estate at the University of Alberta. We pass the organization of the competition around every year. So in some years the site is in Edmonton. Some years it's in Calgary. We're hoping to have the site be in Winnipeg right away here as well. And the competition grows every year. Last year we added the University of Manitoba, and I'm looking forward to having them back this year as well. So NAIOP does three things. We do an education program, which you guys are a part of, as well as teaching some classes for professionals in commercial real estate. We have an advocacy program where we advocate on behalf of the commercial real estate industry to governments at the municipal, provincial, and federal level. And we have an events and networking program where we help people connect with the industry. So you can be involved in NAIOP in a bigger way when you graduate, and you also have the opportunity to join our mailing list. So go to the NAIOP that corresponds to your city. We have a NAIOP chapter in Edmonton and in Calgary, and hoping to set up a NAIOP chapter in Winnipeg very shortly. So now I'll pass it off to Matt to talk a little bit about, well, actually, I'll just quickly say this year's competition is a bit of a departure for us. It's an industrial site, which Matt will get into just outside of the city of Edmonton. So why don't I pass it off now to Matt Woolsey, the president of York Realty, to talk about the site.
Great, thanks, Anand. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everybody for having us on this challenge. I'm super excited that we get to participate, and I'm super excited to see what everybody comes up with here. It'll be really great to get a fresh perspective on our business and our site, and I'm excited to challenge you guys to see what you come up with. So thanks very much. I'm going to start with a little bit of shameless self-promotion because I'm a huge fan of our company, and I love talking about myself. So just a quick bit about York. We're a family business started by my mom and dad. We own about 7 million square feet of space in Alberta. It's almost all industrial, which is kind of unique. It's really our bread and butter, and it's all we do. I think it's a really exciting place to be for us and for our business, because we're a private company operating in a sphere with a lot of public companies or institutional funds as competition, which means we have to, I think it'll give you a good perspective on why we have to be different than our competition. Quite frankly, we just don't have the pockets that our competitors do. We can't wait for the market to turn for extraordinary lengths of time. We can't overpay for assets. We can't leave assets not performing. Our cash is too precious for us. And when we compete at this level, we have to be smarter and we have to work harder than our competition to win deals, which is why I talk a bit about us, just because I think it really speaks to who we are and how you have to think about this project. So we like to say at York that we're the path of least resistance for tenants and brokers leasing space. So a sort of prominent feature of real estate is complexities, right? 75-page leases, lengthy negotiations, down to everything, about the number of days it takes after a building burns down to rebuild it. Any sort of permutation of risk you can imagine is covered off by most of our competitors. We try and be exactly the opposite by having a 12-page standard form lease, by responding very quickly to any questions or inquiries we've got. We have in-house drafting to answer questions quickly so that we can really be a customer-focused organization. Our customers are our tenants, and I think that's a really important distinction, because we always say it's really tough to serve two masters, right? If you're serving capital and you're serving your clients, you're probably doing a good job at one or not the other, or a poor job at both. We've chosen to serve only our clients. So I think what it comes down to our organization is, I'll start with the why. I don't know if anybody in the call ever listens to Simon Sinek or challenges those things, but really, when I look at our company, the why is really to prove that we can surpass expectations. Everybody at our company is challenged to improve themselves, to evolve, to be a better person the next day than they were today. And so that's really fundamentally what our company is. We're playing in a big boys game, and we really enjoy the thrill of having to try and be better to win. So that's really why York, why people work here. I talked about the how, right? By being easy to work with, by keeping our word, and by not accepting the status quo. And I think finally, that just speaks to our values, which, when you're doing this case competition in terms of things that resonate with me, really are based around our values. You can think of them sort of as a filter through which anybody in our organization can make decisions. So they are to challenge the status quo. We love doing things differently, building faster, building smarter, being tenacious. Responding quickly is key in our organization. I will check other people's voicemails in our office if the light is flashing. Do what you say. So this is a tough one. This is the toughest value we have, and I think you guys all know this from life, or you'll learn. Doing what you say is really, really hard, but it's one of our core values. And then finally, doing the right things for our tenants. Doing the right thing for our tenants specifically, another really tough one, and it can be an expensive one, but it's core to who we are. So that said, that's a bit about our company, and hopefully it kind of informs you a bit as you go through this. Something I touched on really quick is why industrial. And some of you may know this, already being involved in the industrial space. I know everybody loves shiny skyscrapers. They all love going downtown and looking at the tall glass buildings, and everyone thinks that's great real estate. That's what I want to own. I don't know why the hell you'd ever want to own that stuff, right? It's unless it's subsidized by the city of Edmonton. But I think industrial is the most exciting space there is. And I don't think that's just key to right now, but I think we'd all agree just macro trends are favoring it in terms of just the evolution of business. And COVID, if nothing else, has accelerated those trends massively for us. They've pulled e-commerce forward. 3PL companies, delivery companies, food production companies, food delivery companies. It's probably pulled that forward by 5 or 6 years as a guess in about 8 months, which has caused a huge uptick in demand in terms of the different clients that we're exposed to. And oftentimes now there's this weird overlap between what was formerly retail or formerly food in our space. So we're having to integrate pretty quickly the other way and figure out what matters to our customers, where we didn't care as much before, right? It's not just about big boxes and leasing them out. It's about finding out what makes our customers tick, and how we can help serve their needs. So that's just a little pitch on industrial. The other fun thing about industrial is it moves fast. These buildings, for a large part, are not complicated to build, right? They go up quickly. You can put an industrial building up anywhere from, depending on who you are, from 7 months to 16 months. That's a big difference from building a multi-family and residential site or an office building, right? There's no underground parking, there's no shoring, there's no complexities. It's a box, it goes up fast, which means the pace of the game is a lot faster. People can come to market and say, I want a building here and I want to be operating next year. What do you have? Which means we all have to react really quickly, and it makes it for a really fun game. So I would encourage any of you who like real estate to really think about industrial, because it is by far and away the best asset class. And that's not subjective, that's just a fact. So the last thing I'll talk about is the site. This is Monarch Business Park, we call it. It was actually owned by Finning. Once upon a time, Finning was going to consolidate all of their operations here. And this is just a guess, I think 15 years ago. It was bought by Cameron Developments. And if any of you don't know Cameron, they are legends of retail development in our city. They've done South Edmonton Common, the Currents of Windermere, Manning Crossing, I think it's called. A tremendous company, a family company owned by the McPhee family. And for what it's worth, just wonderful people and wonderful partners who are masters at what they do in the retail space. So I'd encourage you to look them up and do a bit of research on them as well. They bought this site. The history is for a client. The client changed their mind and didn't want the site anymore. They had bigger fish to fry. Fast forward 10 years later, they still have an industrial site. They're not in the market and don't quite know what to do with it. We as a company have been building lots of industrial buildings. We started in Leduc and Nisku, building service style shops. That went pretty well. We bought more, we built more. And then we decided that buying sites on a retail basis was not the best way to make money. It was expensive. So we thought we need to get into the land development game, but we don't know really what we're doing. So Cameron has a breadth of experience in terms of land development. So that's dealing with the municipalities, which there is a political element to, installing roads and sewers, paying levies, negotiating with power companies and TELUS. It's a pretty complex beast, and Cameron is fantastic at it, right? Both through their retail and through their residential operations. So we bought a 50% share in Monarch Business Park, 100 acres. We decided we would try and move through 15 acres come hell or high water every year I'm not going to be able to do the math right, sorry, because we have a new baby at home. But I think it was 6 years we thought we'd be able to move through all of it, less stormwater ponds and all that. So 15 acres a year was the target. In the first year, we moved through 45 acres and built 400,000 square feet, which was a rush. We were able to land one of Amazon's delivery centers, which was a fascinating experience. And, when you go out there and drive around, you'll see these massive parking lots, which is for all of their last mile delivery vans, which is kind of a neat process. Interestingly enough, we were, I think, the first site in Canada to be electric vehicle ready. So they bought a company called Rivian, which makes electric trucks and vans, and they're going to, at some point move their fleet entirely to electric. So we installed 30 kilometers of conduit underground at that parking lot, including a medium voltage loop, to add chargers for Rivians at a later date, which was really, quite thoughtful of Amazon to do that. And we learned a ton doing it as well. So anyway, that's why industrial is so exciting, is just that interface between what's going on in the real world and what we get to do. So something else I'll just say at Monarch that we would look favorably on is solar. I would encourage you guys to do some research in terms of solar in Alberta. We have a very unique jurisdiction, the only one in Canada where you can do what's called virtual power purchase agreements. The reason that matters is because as a landlord, we have lots of roofs, and they're not doing anything for us except obviously keeping our tenants dry, which is the most important, but they're not making money for us otherwise. So I would encourage you to do some research there. We are installing Amazon's first solar array in Canada, a 200 kilowatt array on our building for them there. We've installed a large solar array at Monarch for a company called Frudenberg, which you'll see. And we're installing a large solar array for a company called the Ice Cream Depot, which operates a giant freezer. So if you think it gets really hot in the summer, and if you think about some of these uses, sorry, if I'm going on too long, Anand, just stop me. Okay. If you think about some of these uses, like food companies, well, they have to keep product cool in the summer, and that's when they burn to the most energy. That's also the time when solar panels generate the most electricity. So anyway, there's some good just stuff to think about with these big buildings, right? We're very supportive of anything you can do to promote environmental awareness, provided you can make us money. So that's the caveat. So the specific site we've got left is, I think, 32 acres. The challenges with the site, it's an oddball shape. It's kind of a square with a diamond on the end, or I don't know what you call it, but the west portion of the site is challenging because it has a bunch of easements through it, pipeline easements, right-of-ways, all of that type of thing, including the sewer trunk. All of the sewage at Leduc actually flows back to the city of Edmonton, where it gets treated at Gold Bar wastewater treatment plant. So shit flows downhill to Edmonton, and you can't build on top of that. You can use it for truck marshaling. You can use it for parking or for rolling stock. You cannot use it to build any structures on. So consider that when you're looking at it. It's a challenge. How are we going to activate, what amounts to 10 acres of our site, which we can't do much with? So give that some thought. Otherwise, we're kind of asking you to look at the market, to do your homework, and to tell us what the heck we should build next. We like building on spec. We do it all the time. And I'm very curious to see what your idea is, because you never know. We want to build something right away, and we may use some of your ideas. So with that in mind, anything else I can tell you about the site that would be helpful? And I don't think we're getting into drainage or civil or anything like that, are we?
Actually, it's a really great segue then over to Paige to talk about like the details of the site. We're going to we do want to you can go underground. The only thing that we're kind of excluding is soil conditions. So you have to make some consideration. We're not expecting students to become experts in those fields, but Paige and Sarah are going to introduce some subject matter experts to help the students kind of understand at least those considerations when they're making their proposals. So I'll hand it off maybe to Paige to talk a little bit about the details of the site. But thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. So what I'm actually going to say a lot of what Matt has actually already mentioned. He's really the expert here regarding the site. I'm just going to highlight some of the details that are provided in the case. For those of you that haven't seen it already, the final case is actually attached in the meeting invite. So feel free to pull that up. I think Sarah might share a little bit of the screen. I'm really just going to run through to give you an idea about what this is all about when it comes to the site. Sarah is going to go through the actual case requirements afterwards, especially for those of you not located in Edmonton. For some perspective, the site is located just south of the city, outside of the city, Edmonton city limits, and in Leduc County. It's surrounded by industrial land. There's Amazon facilities, which Matt's already referred to. Lots going on in the area. I think it's 30.5 acres. I think it's in hectares, so we'll figure that out at some point. And it's unique, as Matt mentioned. It's a different shape. You've got the easements running through one side. The site is fully serviced, and I think Matt even mentioned they're ready to do construction. They want to do construction with speed and soon. So those are things to keep in mind. For the development, you are given the freedom to develop the property on an entirely speculative basis. As Matt mentioned, the reason is to maximize the creativity. Matt, all of us really actually want to see what you can come up with, and I think this is one of the first cases given this much freedom. But with that, this is where market research is incredibly important, or rather the feasibility analysis. It really comes into play. Building on specs still needs to make sense, which brings, so some of the case assumptions that I've touched on, things that you need to think about are, of course, the speculative basis, but then the financing aspect. We've got a cost in there as is at $515,000 an acre. There's no debt on the property, but you're going to need construction financing. You're also getting term financing on stabilization, with where you're going to want max terms. As Matt he didn't mention yet, but return on equity, or making money, as Matt mentioned, is a priority. So that's what you need to focus on. We also have IRR, which you'll learn about in school if you haven't already. We have the terminal date of 2031. Really, it says details, but there's actually not a ton of information to provide you. You are being set free, and your decision making really heavily needs to rely on your market research. And creativity is really important for this case study. With a twist we have added is, at a certain point, we're going to provide you with some information. The new information is going to provide you an opportunity to potentially change course. You could adapt, potentially deal with an obstacle, or provide a response. As it happens in the everyday real estate world, as Matt mentioned, sometimes these happen and you have to respond quick. You'll have probably a little bit more time. But one thing I want to make very clear is what you'll be judged on for this portion is how you choose to respond. Don't hold off for this information. The creativity and everything you've done is incredibly important. And this is just a piece of seeing how you can adapt and how you can respond. But I just want to make sure that you don't think it's something that you should be waiting for. Now, hold off on actual case competition specific questions, because Sarah's going to go through that. But we would like to open it up if anyone had questions, probably or likely for Matt, about York Realty, the Monarch Business Park, or this site specifically. Again, Sarah's going to run through the case in a bit more detail of what's required of you. So any questions?
Question with regard to the title and the easements and all those documents. Are you going to provide that in a Dropbox? So the title, so that we don't have to do the title search and get all those documents.
We can provide some. I know part of the activity, if they are able to easily access items, part of it is going to be the looking a little bit. So we can get back to you with the exact documents that will be given.
So you'll provide them in a Dropbox available to everybody?
If a document's provided, it'll be provided to everybody, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And will you be using a Dropbox for those documents?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, that's more an Anand question. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions?
What's an IRR?
That's for you to figure out.
Okay.
You can
Good one, Matt.
ask your professors.
Maybe Curtis can explain it. I still don't get it.
Yeah, I think he's quoting his father there. Our team has done a lot of business with York Realty over the years, mostly bringing them opportunities to buy and getting into the deep analysis and cap rates and IRRs and levered IRRs. And Glenn, Matt's father, who started the company, gets back to me. He's like, "What's an I don't care. We try to send him Dropbox links. He says, no, I don't do this. Put it on a knob and send it over. That's his word for a thumb drive. It's old school realty over there, price per pound, going in yield. Who are my tenants? Who are my customers? Back to basics. So yeah. Try not to make it too complicated. Matt and I might not be able to understand the response.
I'm not as smart as brokers.
Actually, Matt, you shared some great insights into Monarch. So I hope students, you were taking some notes there because he gave you some good hints. If there's no other questions, I can start and go over the actual challenge and case study here. Does anybody, any more questions? Are we good to move on? I think we're good to move on. Okay. Leaving the questions to the end, hopefully.
Emma, you had a question? Oh, I thought I saw her raise your hand. You're on mute, Emma.
I don't see Emma. I don't see her. Oh, there. We can't hear you, Emma.
And we've lost her.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We'll get her back.
Okay. Okay. We'll get your question at the end. So we sent out the RFP yesterday, so some of you may already have had a chance to review. But what I'm going to do a quick run through and then address any questions you have at the end. So it's really just to give you a big picture of what we're asking of you and how we're expecting you to respond and what the presentations are going to look like. And I'm also going to give a short intro to all the SMEs that have graciously donated their time, knowledge, and expertise to your success and development. So a few of them are on the call today. I don't think all of them were able to make it, but I'm going to go through and kind of introduce all of them. So I'm going to pull up the RFP on the screen here to follow. If you guys have it in front of you already, great. I'm going to pull it up here. Second. Okay. So I think everybody can see it.
You can see it.
Okay. Thanks, Paige. So essentially, the case study is presented in basically 5 sections. So the first section is really the details on NAIOP. So you have an understanding of who is behind this. So who started this whole thing, what it is they do, who they are. And actually NAIOP has been running this now for 6 years. This will be the 6th year. They started in 2015 and it's just continued to grow and been a really powerful event and competition for students. So thank you, NAIOP and David Dale Johnson for getting this going. On the 5th page, so I'll scroll down, I'll get after the NAOP introduction, we get right into what the challenge is. So a description of what exactly are we asking? So the details on the questions we're asking and the problems that we're asking you to solve. So we get into the details. I mean, Matt's given you quite a lot of information on who York is, but who is your client? These are things you need to be thinking about, what role you're playing. So you are the development team providing advice to the client, York. And you're answering the problem question of a subject site that is owned and serviced and now needs a strategic development plan. So the developer has key objectives that must be addressed in your development plan. And all of those are outlined in page 6, right here, the objectives. So I encourage you to read this in detail, but this is giving you a good picture of what we're asking, a little bit more about the site and who you're presenting to and who you're writing this plan for. The next section is really just the site details. So Paige touched on this, so did Matt. We give you the details on the physical site, how big it is, location, assumptions, cost of the property, and this information is just really to help you in your response. In the 4th part of the case study, you're looking at, and this stuff is really important, so the guidelines, the resources, and the timelines. So the deadlines and timelines are outlined in the RFP. Yesterday, you should have received this. So today is obviously the kickoff call. On Monday is when you'll be receiving all the subject matter expert contact information, which will be shared and will be available to you on Monday. So I'm going to get into more detail about who those are in the SMEs and what role they play, but they'll be really important for you guys to respond to this. So it's going to be a great resource throughout the competition. February 22nd is the day that you'll be receiving the new information. So Paige touched on that slightly. We're throwing you a little bit of a curveball this year and adding in some new information halfway through the competition. Again, it's not something that you should be able to be using all the information and research that you've done previously. That will help you when you get this new information, but it might just kind of take you in a different path than where you were planning on going before with your response. So keep in mind, you'll be hearing from us on the 22nd with that new information. Your written proposals are due on the 10th of March, and the presentations are scheduled for March 17th. You will have lots of resources to help you along the way. So myself, part of the committee, and committee members, university directors, contact information is on page 14. So feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to address any questions you have at any time. So all our information is there. So I'm just going to take a quick minute now to talk about the SME's role. So all the SMEs, the subject matter experts, have kindly and graciously volunteered their time. So each university is allowed to contact the subject matter experts a maximum of 2 times throughout the competition. And each of those contact times can be no longer than 45 minutes. It's really important that you respect their time and be prepared for all the meetings and conversations. So if you're asking to meet with an SME, please just be mindful that they are taking time out of their day to assist your university for this project. And additionally, this is going to be how you interact with the SMEs, and your professionalism will be taken into account in your scores from the SMEs. And we do further in the case study, if you were able to review it, outline what's in a score sheet in Appendix 1, exactly what you're being scored on and what the SMEs are going to be taking into account. So make sure you have a read of that even before you contact your SMEs and you start the project. Have a look at that score sheet and have a good sense of what you're being graded And then, so we do outline the proposal format. So again, that starts on page 10. Just make sure you read through that. We're asking you to send in your proposal in a slide deck, so in a PowerPoint presentation. And that's for the written portion. However you want to present the oral portion is up to you. You can present it in any way you want, and creativity is welcome. So you'll be required to submit your written portion in advance of the presentation day. So that's on March 10th. And then on the actual presentation day, there's sort of two presentations that happen. So there's the first one in like early afternoon, where each team is given 20-minute time slot to present privately to the judges. And they get a 30-minute question period following your 20-minute presentation. So that's just a private, like no other students are seeing, it's just you and the judges presenting. And then after that, later in the day, is a public event. So it's kind of like a Dragon's Den situation, where students, you're expected to have a 10-minute condensed version of your presentation, and there'll be an audience of NAEP members and other guests, and judges will have a brief deliberation after that to announce the winning team. But you will have that opportunity, or the judges will also be asking you questions during that condensed version during the public presentation. Again, just in how you will be judged, just refer back to that Appendix 1. If you have any questions, just let us know. SMEs do meet with the judges in advance to provide their input and scores for each of the teams of the universities. But only the judges will be attending and evaluating the oral presentation. Detailed schedule will be given to you on the competition day, or well, provided closer to the competition day. However, the order of presentations is as follows. It'll be University of Manitoba, University of Calgary, and then University of Alberta on March 17th. So just quickly, I'm going to send out all the contact information for the SMEs, but just so you know who we have this year that's going to be involved, and we actually have a few that have already been involved in the past and are familiar with the competition. So there are, I think we have 10 this year, maybe more, 12. All here to, again, help you as consultants through the competition. So the appraiser this year is Allison McGavigan. She is a vice president, evaluation advisory at JLL. Gabrielle Leroux from Omada is your retail market expert, and he's an associate at Omada. I will be your office market expert, and I'm at CBRE, obviously. Curtis Palmer is vice president at CBRE, and he will be your industrial market expert. Yolanda Yu from Stantec will be the community, will be your land use expert, and she's a community development practice lead at Stantec. Jesse Warwa will be your finance expert, and he's senior director of finance at KB Capital. Brandon Bilston is your cost consultant, and he's the director at Turner and Townsend. Vaughn Shears will be your civil engineer consultant, and he's the director of infrastructure land development at WSP. Patrick Krebelin is your general contractor consultant, and he will be, he's from Scott Builders, and he's the general manager of Edmonton at Scott Builders. Architect consultant will be Willem Kellerman, and he's a partner at Dialogue. Mark Huberman will be your transportation expert, and he's a transport engineer at Bunt Engineering. And Heather Kinneborough is a vice president at Gregg Distributors. She's going to be your distribution, supply chain, and logistics expert. And Mark Gallant will be your city planner consultant, and he is in the developing or planning and development department at Leduc County, and he focuses in economic development. So we'll send out all this contact information on Monday, and that's all I have for you. Does anybody have any questions?
Sarah, this is David.
Hi, David.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Hear you great.
is York Realty the client or is it Monarch?
York is the client,
Okay.
and they own Monarch.
But they own Monarch with Cameron, do they not?
Cameron. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We're assuming that Cameron has the same expectations as York.
And our 50% or our partners in all respects. Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
I think we just assume
Yeah. No, good question.
assume they're happy to go along for the ride, David. Yeah.
What's that, Matt?
I think we just assume they're happy to go along for the ride. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
So do we demonstrate that in our financial performance then?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we're shoulder to shoulder, so we can divide by 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's explicitly off limits, like zoning change, subdivision, acquisition, et cetera, et cetera?
Sorry,
No.
you just cut out there.
I said, is there anything that's explicitly off the table, like zoning changes, subdivision, acquisition, disposition?
No. Matt, would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe there's questions in the chat as well.
Okay. Yeah, let me see.
I see Emma question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Emma just had a question saying, Matt, are you planning for a long-term hold with this asset, or is the intent to hold for a period and dispose at some point in the future?
Yeah. So the intent is to hold. Everyone is to buy and hold. But to Weston's question, if you see, and I guess this is for the purposes of the case a little tough to quantify, but if there is some outside opportunity you see where ownership isn't an option, but you feel the returns are tough to ignore, I know maybe that's a bit subjective. I wouldn't hesitate to present it. Is that okay, Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that's good. Yeah.
But the analysis, sorry, Sarah, it's David again. The analysis period is to 2031. Is that there was some discussion of 15 years, but it's 10.
Yeah, I think the analysis period, is for 10 years, till 2031. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
So 10 years.
Good question.
Yeah, Emma's just asking if there are any environmental issues we need to be aware of, or assuming it's a clean site. So you would assume this is a clean site. Is that correct, Matt?
It looks like Matt might have jumped off, but I can say, I mean, I think you've got to go in assuming these sites are clean. Having a contaminated site without having any reports, I think that's beyond the scope of anybody's expectation to understand.
It is written in the case that you are to assume the site is clean. It's just too complex otherwise. And it is, you have to remember, they just fully service the site and so it's ready to go.
So when you say fully serviced, in other words, all the services are to the site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think if any other questions, if anything comes up, we are available. Have a good read through the case study, and if anything comes up, just reach out to one of the committee members. Again, you will have the SMEs. You can reach out to them starting Monday, and you have till February 28th, and then there's no contact after that time.
Just to confirm, we won't get the SMEs today as stipulated in the brief. We will get the SME list on Monday, February 1st, rather than today, correct? So in other words, you read them out, you won't give us the list and the contact coordinates until Monday.
Yes, there was a couple last minute changes that have caused a couple day delay, but it'll be the same to everyone, and you do have a heads up on who's coming.
Okay.
Ed really wants to make all the calls tomorrow, Sarah. You got to know that.
Very eager. I like it. Actually, I bet, Matt actually, he literally just had his 4th baby, so maybe that's why he hopped off. He's got dad duties.
I'm back. I just fell off. Sorry, I'm back.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying how you might have had to run. Actually, literally, when I was talking to you last week, there was no baby, so it's all me.
No, everybody's good. Everybody's healthy, and we're alive, sort of. So all good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats.
No, thanks, guys.
Hey, Sarah, I guess
So,
it's more directed at Matt.
I was gonna say that's number 4 for you, Matt. You think you might put a pin in it at some point?
It's no accident that it happened 9 months after COVID started, and there was all that wine.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not alone.
Yeah, it was a busy hospital.
The COVID boom. So I think there's one other question that came up from one of the students.
Yeah, I was just going to ask before we all sign off if Matt would be interested and open on giving his reflection on the Edmonton market maybe over the past year before we all close off.
Yeah, sure, as best I can. You mean during COVID?
Sure, just like maybe like if you want to speak to COVID, of course, but just where you've seen the market in Edmonton and maybe obviously your area of Leduc where you guys are kind of focused in, if you wouldn't mind just giving a general perspective.
I can. Sarah, what's the rules here? Does that give away too much info?
I mean, no,
it's just a perspective from the client, I guess, is what if it's open to share.
Yeah, you can share a little bit.
I'll keep it maybe broad strokes, if that's okay. I would say we're here for a reason. We're at this site for a reason, and I'll leave it for you guys to figure that out. The market generally, I think, is really bifurcated between local business and call it larger national or multinational players. And I think as a broad rule, it's tougher the more local you are right now, right? And the less local you are, the easier it is, and the less your business I think this is obvious. I don't think I'm giving it away. The more your business leans towards the trends of the future, the better you're doing, right? And if you're oil and gas, it's a tough year.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to pass it off to David Dale Johnson just to have a couple closing remarks. Good luck to you all, and we're all really looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Yeah, and thank you, Matt, for allowing us to dig into your site here and allowing the students to get creative and hopefully come up with some good ideas.
No, appreciate that, and thanks for everybody for taking a look at it, and thanks to the subject matter experts too. I know you're probably getting there, Sarah, but there's a lot of horsepower on this call with them, except for Curtis Palmer. So that,
oh yeah.
No, but there really is. They'd be good. Even Curtis, you could ask him a few questions, and there's some smart folks there.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Curtis, love you.
That's okay. I know I'm here for the pity vote. It's fun.
Well, Sarah, thank you very much. If that's my cue to say a few words. First of all, to you and Paige and Anand for all the time you spent putting this case together. For this not to be urban, high-rise, mixed use is just a relief, I have to say. It's kind of exciting to be doing something new. Also, thanks to Matt and Cameron Corporation for being willing to make their site available. As I said, it's exciting that this is going to be an industrial case competition for the first time. I guess it makes architecture a little less relevant, maybe. I'm not sure. But
I would like to debate that one.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I probably put my foot in it now. So anyway, thanks so much. Also to the SMEs. I guess I've just met one. The adjudicators, because you guys commit a tremendous amount of time, and it's a great opportunity for the students to interface with you and to learn. Also the team coaches, and Ed's here. I'm not sure where we are with University of Manitoba. I hope they're here. But thanks to Haskayne and to the University of Manitoba and all the students there, and to my students, I hope it's going to be a great semester. I think it will be. I'll say one last thing. This is the 7th year, not the 6th year. We're tied 3-3, I think, with Haskayne. So I think the safest thing would be for Manitoba to take it away this year, and then we can kind of keep even.
That's great. Wonderful words.
But actually, I hope we win. But anyway, Ed, you've been involved in these competitions for a long time. So have I. This is the one class I teach, which I really do enjoy. And my experience with students over the years, of course, I enjoy the other classes, but this is the real capper, if you like. But my experience with the students over the years is it's a tough experience, but when they get to the end of this, there's a fair number of them who say this is their best single business school experience on the real estate side. It really pulls everything together and really gives them a chance to understand what our industry is all about. So again, thanks everybody for the various roles you're playing, and looking forward to a great competition.
Here.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Sarah. Appreciate the chance to say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Yeah, well, wanted to just say good luck one last time, and we really hope that you guys will really put your minds together and come up with some creative ideas. We want this to be as real life as possible. So part of throwing in that new information this year as a curveball is really that is real life. That is, you get halfway done something and you're thrown a new idea or a new tenant in the market. And so we are trying to create that experience as much as possible for you. And yeah, we're excited to see. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. Leave it
Great.
there.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, everyone.
We're looking forward to it. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Hello.
Melanie, do you just have a photo up there? You were so
just sitting and doing nothing. Staring out. Yeah, no, my house is pretty loud and chaotic right now. So yeah, good job. I think that went really well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I think Matt did a really good job of introducing, and so yeah.
All-Star. I'm gonna take some of that video, Sarah, when you've got it.